Today I'm tackling a topic that has been spreading like wildfire. The idea that buying a home is an impossible dream. You've heard it before. You'll never be able to afford a house, or the market is just too crazy right now. But hold up. Before you let the negativity take root, I want you to really hear me out. The truth is, homeownership is not some exclusive club. It's not reserved for the ultra wealthy or the lucky few. It's absolutely achievable for you. Yes, you. If you know what it takes and you make it a priority, it will be done. Today, I'm breaking down the 3 main things you need to buy a home. And I promise it's a lot simpler than you might think. We're tackling the few little things, little nuggets that can make you go from renter to buyer before you even know it. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive in to why the you'll never buy a home narrative is not only wrong, but is holding you back. By the end of this episode, you'll have the knowledge and the confidence to take real steps toward making homeownership a reality. Let's go.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror, and thanks for joining me today as we continue to work to improve the one thing that we can control, ourselves. Here at the Financial Mirror, it is not about the numbers and spreadsheets alone, but about transforming and educating you on money so that you can make smarter financial decisions. If this is the first time you are joining in, don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you're listening on Rumble, don't forget to follow the channel and like the video. And on any podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. So today I want to talk about this massive myth, and I keep hearing it, and it's got to stop. This idea that you will not buy a home and it's an impossible dream and all of these things, it's totally bananas. Totally bananas and absolutely wrong. By the end of today, I hope that you know exactly what it takes, exactly what you need to be doing to buy a home, because many don't realize that homeownership is much simpler than you may be led on to believe. Now, when I say simple, I mean simple as in the steps that it takes. It's not saying that all the steps are going to be easy. They're not. But when you accomplish them, you can own a home. Right? So if you know what needs to get done and you do it, you will own a home. If you know what needs to get done and you don't do it, well, enjoy renting, because that's what you will be doing if you're not able to accomplish these steps. So let's start out by breaking down, where does this myth come from? We are constantly being bombarded by stories about skyrocketing home prices, bidding wars, economic doom and gloom, tariffs now. Like it just is always something else. And it's easy to see why many people just throw their hands up, throw in the white flag or wave the white flag and say, you know what? Homeownership just isn't for me. Homeownership is just out of my reach. But today I want to give you a different perspective, because the reality is that homeownership is within everyone's reach. For most people, the real barrier is not the market, but their own financial habits. And that's actually the great news, because you can't control the housing market, but you can absolutely control your habits and your choices. Okay. So what does it actually take to buy a house? I've broken it down into 3 things that we will talk about in detail. But if you can accomplish these 3 things, you will be a homeowner very soon. So let's dig into them, shall we? So the first one is steady income. The first thing that you need is a steady income. A steady income will be the foundation of homeownership. Lenders want to see that you've got a job, and a reliable source of income. But here's the common misconception here, is that you actually don't need to be rich to buy a home. You don't. You absolutely don't need some $100,000 income to buy a home. Consistency matters more than the size of the paycheck. If you are consistently bringing in a paycheck and you show, and we'll this kind of feeds into the later numbers here, 2 and 3, but if you can consistently show that you're going to make the income and you qualify for the home, right? Then buying a home is easily within your grasp. Because whether you're salaried, hourly, or self-employed, the goal is to demonstrate stability. And I recommend you keeping your job history consistent. Avoid large gaps in employment if possible. If you're self-employed, making sure your paperwork's good, tax returns specifically are your biggest items, but profit and loss statements, all those details just to show that your income is steady. A steady income is exactly what you need to be on the path to homeownership. If you're thinking about a career change or starting a business, try to get pre-approved for the mortgage first, because lenders love stability. And you don't want to make things harder on yourself by having any type of hiccup in your work history or in a fluctuation in your income. So lenders want to see steady income. If you're getting paid, let's say, $2,500 every 2 weeks or $3,000 every 2 weeks or something, and one paycheck it's $5,000, one paycheck is $3,000, the next one is $1,000. Those fluctuations affect lenders. They want to see consistency, steady income. Okay. So that's kind of the first thing. The first thing that you need to do is have a steady income. Okay. Have a steady income. Number two, the second thing you need to do, and these kind of go hand in hand. So it is number two, but there's kind of two parts to it. Okay. But you need a low income to debt ratio, and you need good payment history. Okay. And so what does that mean in simple terms? It means how much you owe compared to how much you make. So look at that steady income and look at how much you owe for any debt that you have, right? Now, I want to pause here because if I'm totally honest, what I would recommend you do, and I tell this to all people, is that you should be debt-free before you start looking at purchasing a home. You should be. You should absolutely be debt-free. Now, does that mean that you have to be? Well, no, you don't have to be. The common way that people sell this to themselves, where they choose to buy a home while still in debt, number one thing people tell themselves is this: well, it's going to cost me $2,500 to rent, and it's going to cost me $2,000 to buy. My mortgage is $2,000, my rent's $2,500. It's cheaper to buy the home. Okay. At face value, sure, yes, $500 cheaper per month to buy the home versus the rent. However, the thing about renting is that you have an expected cost of $2,500 every month. It's not going to change. It's not $2,700, then $2,400 or anything. It's $2,500 every month. And the same way that fluctuation in income is a risk to lenders, it's also a risk to you if your cost per month is fluctuating potentially. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, simply put, when you buy a home, you get all the problems and all the issues that come with the home. So if all of a sudden something breaks, your $2,000 mortgage may be $2,500 because something broke that month, and now you've got to pay for it. Normal upkeep of the home, you have to pay for. Your landlord's probably going to be, or whoever your renter is, if you're rent through some organization or some company, they're probably going to cut the grass for you. Well, you either need a lawnmower or you're going to have to pay somebody to cut your grass. What I'm saying is that there are additional costs of homeownership that do not come with renting. So just because a mortgage is cheaper or the same price as renting does not mean that price per month is the same. Okay. It's not a simple equation like that. So just keep that in mind when you're going through that. But what I'm telling you is that if you can get out of debt before purchasing a home, you will enjoy the home more, because any little hiccup in debt, any little hiccup in income, any little hiccup in your personal finances, the debt and the home will both feel like a burden. That's why I tell people to get out of debt first. Now, regardless, if you go into it with debt or without debt, you need a low debt to income ratio. So most of the time, lenders typically are looking for around 43% or lower debt to income, meaning the lower your ratio, the better. But the good news is that this is something you can improve with just a little bit of discipline. So pay off your debt, get rid of the debt, and then purchase the home. Like I said, if you're going to buy a home, I'm not sitting here telling you how to spend your money or how to do your finances specifically. But what my recommendation is that you get out of debt before you try to purchase a home. There's just so many problems that come with it. Okay. But the second little part of this, besides the debt to income ratio, is good payment history. Good payment history is important because it is what is probably the biggest driver of credit scores. Now, do you need a credit score to buy a home? No. Is a credit score, does it make it easier to buy a home? Yes, 100% it does. So pay your bills on time every time. If you have late payments on your record, start building a positive history now. It may take a few months to actually start to see a big change in your credit score, but the results are worth it. Good financial habits show up in good credit scores. Like it leads to good credit scores. So set up automatic payments for all your bills. That can really help you in the long run. Okay. So that's number 2, low income to debt ratio, good payment history. Number 3 is the all infamous down payment. Okay. And I know this is the part where many people start to panic, but hear me out. You do not always need a 20% down payment. However, and I mean that because programs like FHA loans, they require as little as like 3.5% down. VA loans for veterans can have 0 down payment requirements. So example, like a $250,000 home with a 3.5%, it's only, $8,750, right? And that's still a chunk of change when you think about it from a sense of a down payment perspective, but it's a long ways from like a $50,000, which what most people think when they're thinking about a down payment. So, what are the benefits? What are the benefits of the larger down payments? Well, 20% down will avoid private mortgage insurance, PMI, which is an extra fee added to your monthly mortgage payment. However, I am not one that's going to sit here and tell you that you should, if you've got 15% saved, and the perfect home is on the market, right? Or 10% saved and the perfect home is on the market, I am not going to sit here and tell you that it's an awful decision. Like you'll never rebound from it ever if you go out and purchase this home and you have to pay PMI. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe it's worth going to get the home. Perfect home's on the market. It's in your price range. It's got everything you need. And you only have 10 to 15% ready for down payment at that very moment. Is the extra fee for PMI okay? Well, maybe, yeah. I'm not going to knock you if you went and bought the home, because PMI will go away when you have that 20% equity into the home or built up in the home. So keep that in mind when you're going through that decision-making process. But I tell people, get as much of a down payment as you can. You're going to have PMI on there, but it's not terrible. It's not super expensive. It is money that you're throwing away. 100% you're doing that. But I'll be honest, like a home retains value when it's taken care of. If you love your home, you will take care of it. If you get 20% down and you buy a home that you just didn't really fall in love with, you just kind of liked it at the time because you had the money now, but the home you wanted is now off the market. Maybe it wasn't worth waiting, right? So I'm not sitting here telling you, but what I am saying is that a down payment is optional for some, but I would tell you that you need to make a down payment on the home. You do. You really need to make a down payment. Even with VA, you need to make a down payment. Okay. Just a couple of other costs right there to worry about is closing cost. It's around 3% of the home purchase price. This will cover things like property tax, insurance, title fees, lender charges, all those things. You need to be able to pay that. You need to be able to pay closing costs. So think about that. If you're trying to get to a 20% down payment, you may need 23% to cover closing costs and still get the 20% down on the home, right? Because if you walk in with 20% of the home purchase price, 3% of that's going to go to closing costs, and you're going to have 17% going to a down payment. Okay, so keep that in mind. Moving expenses to get to the home. People always forget this, but you need to make sure that you have money set aside. So wherever you are living, you can move into this new place. It's not free. It takes time. It takes boxes. It takes things. It takes something, right? Even if you have a truck, it's a lot. It takes gas to drive it back and forth. So all these things you need to save up for moving expenses. Don't buy a home and then have to drop thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars or add them to a credit card because you just didn't save for moving expenses. Very important. So that's really all it takes, right? That's really all it takes. It takes steady income. It takes good payment history, good low income to debt ratio, and it takes a down payment. That's it. You're ready to be a homeowner, right? If you got those three things, you're ready to be a homeowner. Now, if you're struggling with that down payment, set up automatic transfers to a dedicated savings account. Sell some unused items around your home. It's tax season. Take your tax refund and set it to the side and use that as a down payment moving into the next few years. Consider side hustles. I've done episodes on that. Even if it's temporary, it'll just help you boost your savings a little bit. So that's all it really takes. Those three things. So you're probably thinking like, well, so like, why, if it's that easy, then why the big commotion? Why the constant, no one's going to be able to buy a home. It's the end of the world. Homes are just too expensive. Wages aren't keeping up with the price of homes. Like, okay, the doom is gloom type stuff. Like, why are people saying that if it's just three things: steady income, good payment history, and down payments? Why is it? Well, it's pretty easy. People don't have good financial habits. They don't. So what ends up happening is people make their income, they spend their income, and then they wonder why they're not able to buy a home. And then when I ask them in conversations with clients, I'm like, hey, like, you want to buy a home? Cool. How much are you setting aside each month for that home? Well, none. Okay. Why not? Right? And normally the answer is, well, I just don't have anything extra to set aside. Like, they're debt free, but they're spending literally every dollar that they earn. And then you have to wonder, well, do you not want to be a homeowner, right? Is that not something that's important to you? And they're like, no, it is. Like, I really want to be a homeowner. Like, but that's not what I'm seeing. That's not what I'm seeing in your financial habits. If you're spending every dollar that you earn and you're debt free and you want to be a homeowner, but you're not setting aside anything to buy a home, that's not good. So good financial habits is the key that most people are struggling to accomplish. Okay. Because here's the truth. The truth is, many people who believe they can't buy a home often are not putting in the financial work to get there, because it really and truthfully, it's easier to blame the system. It's easier to say it's the housing market. It's easier to say the wage growth isn't increasing as fast as it should. All these circumstances are so much easier to blame than to look inward and say, yes, I am the problem. I am spending all of my money and I'm not prioritizing saving for a home to be a homeowner. Okay. And that's the hard truth. It really is. Because I'm not saying the market isn't tough. I'm not saying that COVID did not just astronomically skyrocket home prices. I'm not. But there are countless examples of people from all walks of life who make sacrifices, who stay disciplined, and they reach their goal of home ownership. They do. From in all sources of income, all income levels, they become homeowners, right? So you can be one of those people. You can be. And the secret is not waiting for the perfect circumstance. The secret is not waiting for mortgage rates to come down. The secret is not waiting for home prices to come down, but it's creating habits that prioritize homeownership. And you will become a homeowner. I guarantee it, right? I guarantee it. So what can you do? Well, the first thing you have to do is stop the leaks. If you're not sure where your money's going, you're not budgeting, you are on the wrong track to home ownership. You need to know how much money you're earning. You need to know where all your money's going every month. And you need to figure out, how can I start to set aside some money for a home? Because that's literally all it takes. Figure out, how can I set aside some money? And I don't care if it starts out at $25. What I'm telling you is that when you build the savings habit, when you build that savings muscle, 25 will turn to 50, 50 will turn to 100, 100 will turn to 250, 250 will turn to 5, 5 to 1,000. You will get better at saving. You get better at things that you consistently are doing. If you'll start saving, you will get better at it. I guarantee it. So you got to stop the leaks. You've got to stop the leaks and start prioritizing saving for that home. Next thing you have to do is you have to budget like just a boss. Like, you've got to prioritize needs over wants. You've got to start to allocate that specific amount towards your home buying goal. If you're eating out constantly, cut out a few meals of those eating outs a month and set that aside for a home. It'll probably be a few $100 if I'm totally honest, but you've got to start to do something. Start to take positive actions in your life to improve your financial position and start prioritizing saving for a home. And the last thing you need to do before making a purchase is ask yourself, is this worth delaying my dream of homeownership? And if it is, can I pause and just think about it? And if it is, just say no. Just walk away. It will make a huge difference in your life. So I'm telling you, it's not as hard as you think. It really isn't. There's a way for you to do it, and there's the right way for you to do it, and that is to focus on home ownership. Make sure those other three things are in check. And then if you're not getting there, if you're not prioritizing that down payment, if you're not going through and maintaining some level of consistent and steady income, if you're not getting rid of that debt so that you have a low to no debt income ratio, you need to look inward. Look at yourself and say, I am the reason I'm not buying a home right now. Okay. And do something about that. Because until you own it and you continue to blame the system, the market, the wages, all those things, you cannot change all of that other stuff. What you can change is you. So look inward, look at yourself and say, I'm going to change me and I'm going to become a homeowner. Okay. Believe it. Believe it and it'll happen. Now, the last hard truth I want to leave you with, and this is the one that, and I've talked about this in episodes in the past, and I'm going to leave it here because, and I've got a little article, and I'll share this article, but it's just a little article that talks about the minimum salary you need to buy a home in all 50 states, and the very first one is Hawaii, and I'm not going to scroll through all these. I'm going to share the link in the description, but this is from Yahoo Finance, and here's what I'm here to tell you. And this is the cold hard truth. And I'm so sorry if this hurts anybody's feelings. I'm really sorry, but it is the truth, and it sucks, but it's the truth. If you the average home value in Hawaii is $900, and this is as of 2024, $967,000. If you are a resident of Hawaii and you live there your whole life, a 20% down payment is $193,000. I told you, maybe you don't put down $193,000. Maybe you only have $10,000, right? So you save up the $10,000 and which is still almost $100,000. The 10%, not 10,000, 10%. Your loan amount is still going to be about $675,000, right? Your monthly mortgage is going to be about $5,000. The minimum salary needed to comfortably afford a home, according to this, is around $200,000. And I could keep going. California, super high as well, $4,000 monthly mortgage. Massachusetts, $3,200 monthly mortgage. Let me scroll for a little bit, and no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Stop. Wyoming, $1,700 monthly mortgage. Minimum salary needed is $69,000. Keep scrolling. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Stop. Missouri, $1,200 average monthly mortgage. Minimum salary needed to comfortably afford a home, $49,000. Where am I going with this? Number one, by the way, is West Virginia. Average monthly mortgage is around $800, and minimum salary needed to comfortably buy a home is $32,000. Now, where was I going? Why did I go through that? Why did I show you this? And what did I say that I would apologize for? Well, here's the thing. If you live in one of those states at the top of that list, and please go look at the link. Go look at the link and take a peek and find your state and see if that's the reason that you cannot buy a home comfortably. The cold truth is that if you're in a state and the skill set that you have does not generate an income that is equatable to be able to buy a home, moving may be your best opportunity for a faster path to home ownership. Okay. And I'm saying that, and it's unpopular. I got it. But maybe you move. Maybe you save up moving expenses and you move to a state where your skill set brings in enough money to comfortably own a home. Yes, that means leaving friends. That means leaving family. That means all these things. I got it. But maybe it's one state over. If you're in Hawaii, I'm sorry, there is no one state over. Maybe it's another island, right? Maybe one island is more expensive than another, right? You have other places to look at. Maybe there's another island that you can make more money or make less money and be able to afford a home easier. But maybe it's a neighboring state. If you're living in, Texas and you move to Louisiana or something like that. But sometimes where you live is the reason that your skill set has just been outpriced in that market. And it happens. It happens and it stinks, but it happens. So I would tell you, and I don't want to drag this out anymore, but I would tell you, if home ownership is your goal, you have two paths. You have the grinded out path, which I just went through. Stop the leaks, budget, shift your mindset. Ask yourself, do I need this? You can still do it. It will not be comfortable, but you can grind it out and you can buy a home. You can live in Hawaii and be a long ways from the minimum salary and you can buy a home, but it is not going to be comfortable, right? It's not. You're going to be grinding it out, but you can do it. Other option is move somewhere where your skills align and with how much money you think you could walk in and make and go buy a home. Go enjoy home ownership. Build that equity in that home. Sell the home and move back. I don't know maybe you love the place. Maybe you move to Kentucky and you love Kentucky. I don't know. But to figure out you've got one life and go out and kill it. Go out and kill that life and go enjoy home ownership. Go enjoy your life. And like I said, it's unpopular. It sucks. I got it, but it is the truth. You've got two paths. An uncomfortable grinding. If you're not making what it takes to buy a home in that market today, it's going to be uncomfortable, but you can still do it. I'm not telling you can't. You can still grind it out and do it. But if that's not the life you want to live, you don't want to be thinking about every single check, every single penny, cutting it, every little thing you've got to cut just to make it work. Move somewhere that you can afford that home and go and enjoy your life. Okay. So, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you found this episode not only helpful, but empowering. Homeownership is not reserved for this select few of people. It's available to anyone who makes it a priority and takes the right steps to do it. Okay. So, hope you enjoy the episode. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a tip on mastering your finances. Look forward to seeing things in the comment section. If you've got ideas, suggestions, or that you disagree, please throw it in the comment section. I love to read them. Love to get other opinions. So until next week, continue improving the one thing you can control, yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.